of interest. In accordance with the Halifax County Board of Commissioners Rules of Procedure in the North Carolina General Statute, Section 153A-44, it is the duty of every member present to vote on all matters coming before the board unless there is a conflict of interest as determined by the board or by law. Does any board member have a known conflict of interest with respect to matters coming before the board today? Commissioner Smith.
None, sir.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Weld. Commissioner Johnson. Vice Chair Brewer. No conflict. Madam Clerk, let the record so reflect that the 6 commissioners present do not have any conflict with matters coming before us today.
Yes.
And we're glad to have you back. You've been under the weather. Yeah. If you think we can't operate, you let her stay away a while. Okay. We're going to move to the first item on the agenda, which is the resolution in honor of Addie Clark Bobbitt Drone, Halifax County's centenarian. We're going to ask Commissioner Johnson to come forward.
I'm going to ask Ms. Drone's family if they would please come forward. This resolution is so special, and we're so thankful, happy, and blessed to have Ms. Drone in our community. And at this time, I would like to read this resolution. Whereas Addie Clark Bobbitt Drone was born the 8th of 15 children on March the 10th, 1922 in Scotland Neck, North Carolina, to Reverend William Henry and Minerva Moore Clark. And whereas a centenarian is a person who lives to or beyond the age of 100 years, which is truly a rare and special occurrence. And whereas Addie Clark married James S. Bobbitt Sr. on February 18, 1945, and together they became the parents of 7 children: Dr. Mildred Bobbitt Sexton, James S. Bobbitt Jr., Edward Lee Bobbitt, Larry L. Bobbitt, Joyce Bobbitt Pittman, Daphne Robert Hill, and Linwood Crenshaw. And whereas her husband James passed away on January 10, 1988, and she married Wilbur Drone in 1993, and whereas in 1962, Addie and her husband James built, owned, and operated Bobbitt's Barber and Beauty Salon in Enfield, now Bobbitt's Hair Care Center, and still a family-owned business. Whereas Addie has a positive impact on Halifax County youth as a teacher's assistant and substitute teacher at Inboard Elementary School, and as a 4-H club program coordinator, recruiting approximately 400 or more youth in the 4-H clubs around Halifax County from 1978 to 1983. Whereas longevity of life is a blessing for an individual and for a community, which benefits from the knowledge, creativity, wisdom, and life experiences of older individuals. Whereas Halifax County recognizes the wealth of gifts and talents which our elders bring to our society and the role they play in shaping the fabric of community life and activity, such as the many books Addie authored, and her membership in the North Carolina Poets Society and the Black Writers Society of North Carolina. Whereas Halifax County honors Addie Clark Bobbitt Drone for the many contributions she made to her family, her community, and Halifax County, including her service at Cedar Creek Baptist Church as historian, usher, choir member, young adult leader, Sunday school teacher, secretary, and mother. Now therefore be resolved that the Halifax County Board of Commissioners urges citizens to pay special tribute and honor to a life well lived, and does hereby proclaim March the 10th, 2023 as Addie Clark Bobbitt Drone Day in Halifax County, North Carolina. Be it also resolved that the original of this resolution be presented to Addie Clark Bobbitt Drone, and that a copy of this resolution be spread upon the minutes of the Halifax County Board of Commissioners this 20th day of February 2023. I move that we make this resolution a part of our history.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor by the sign of aye. All opposed? Okay.
We are so proud, and I know you're proud. And if you will present this to Ms. Eddie, we will be so good. And tell her that we are so blessed to have her in our community. That's me.
And Mr. Bob, if you have any comments, you can do it at this time if you like.
Yes,
I've been knowing you a long time.
yes, sir.
Good to see you.
I want to thank the Halifax County Board of Commissioners and everyone else that had a part of this resolution. This is a great honor. And my mother she's a child of God. She raised her children properly. She was an educator. She loved 4-H club. And most of all, she loved being a cosmetologist. So we thank everybody for this resolution today. And this is my wife, Linda Bobby. Thank you for
I think if we could have a legacy like that, we would surely be blessed.
Amen, Ms. Johnson. I was going to say something about her church activities. When did she have time to do anything else? But you said it all. And also, too, we're fortunate to have our Ag Extension Director with us tonight, Beth Burchell. She deals with 4-H. Will you raise your hand, Beth, so everybody know you? Okay. Thank you for being here as well. All right. At this time, again, thank you all for being here, and give her our best. Introduction of Halifax Community College President. New president at HCC. Isn't that wonderful? And we have my good friend, and he's the chair of the board at Halifax Community College, Dr. Michael Williams, who's going to come forward and make some introduction. And also, too, while he's coming forward, Vice Chair Brewer sits on that community college board, too. I just want to make note of that. And Commissioner Webb used to sit on there. He's a former member. Dr. Williams.
And that's Commissioner Smith.
That's right, Commissioner Smith. See, when you start calling names, you get in trouble.
That's fine. That's fine. I got you back.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and staff. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, sir.
As Chairman of the Board of Trustees of Halifax Community College, and on behalf of our entire Board of Trustees, I bring you greetings and thank you for the opportunity to introduce our new president, the 6th president of the college, Dr. Patrina B. Elliott. A year and a half ago, in September of 2021, our most recent president, Dr. Michael Elam, fell ill, and in January of 2022 lost his battle with cancer. Vice President Dr. David Forrester stepped up and filled in as acting president while the board engaged the very capable services of the National Association of Community College Trustees to lead us in the national search for our next president. Early in the search process, the board established, in addition to the things you would expect of a community college president, 3 primary objectives for our search. We were looking for a leader who would, in partnership with the board, strengthen the college's connections with the community. Second, find new ways to meet the personal growth, academic, and training needs of citizens and employers in our service area. And third, to recover students that we lost during the pandemic. We are confident that we have found that leader in the person of Dr. Elliott, who assumed the position of president this past January 1st. Dr. Elliott is a native of Northampton County, the western half of which is in our service area, holds multiple degrees from UNC Chapel Hill and NC State University. She has a 27-year wide background of education leadership positions, most recently in Robeson Community College, and you will find her to be bright, engaging, and articulate, and when the going gets tough, not a lady to be messed with. Dr. Elliott.
Good afternoon, Chairman Bryant, members of the board, and staff. I want to thank you so very much for the opportunity to stand before you this afternoon. And I also want to thank my board chair, Dr. Williams, for such a gracious introduction. If you would indulge me for a moment, I would like to share with you a brief snippet of the story that I shared with the HCC family on January 3rd, my first day on the job. It will help to give you a perspective to why this position means so much to me. In the small, rural, no stoplight town, kids could be seen playing hopscotch in the neighborhood streets. There was a little girl who lived on Church Street who was one of those kids. When she wasn't jump roping, she was assisting her disabled mother. Due to life's challenges, her mother was self-educated, only completing grade school. However, she always emphasized to her that education was the passport to success and to get as much of it as she could. Although she had grown up disadvantaged, her mother had always taught her to never allow her circumstances to define her destiny. The little girl defied the odds, and after graduating from high school, she became a first-generation college student who went on to earn multiple degrees. In fact, she earned her doctorate degree the day before her mother passed. Yes, I am proud to share with you today that that little girl is the woman you see standing before you. Not only am I happy to do so, but I am most humble and grateful, for you see, I can still remember when I was growing up, we did not have transportation. To come to Weldon, Roanoke Rapids area was a big deal. During those times as we entered Weldon, I would look to the left and I would see the college and wonder what it was like to go to college, to wonder if I would ever be able to go, to wonder about all the possibilities that lied ahead. Halifax Community College was a beacon of light and hope. As I stand before you this afternoon, I'm elated to share with you that although that story is almost 4 decades old, it still rings true today. So many of our students still have challenges that they must overcome. Whether it is caring for a parent and loved one, juggling more than one job, balancing work, school, and family, food insecurity, homelessness, or connectivity issues. Although this is unfortunately the case, I stand before you with some good news. When I previously shared with you that Halifax Community College was a beacon of light and hope, well, guess what? It remains true today. HCC has been, is currently, and will continue to be the answer for so many. It is this fact that has me hopeful. Hopeful for HCC's present and hopeful for HCC's future. We're engaged in significant partnerships that are sure to yield results for our students in our community. As a native of this community, I thank the Halifax Community College Board of Trustees for giving me the opportunity to come home. I believe that to whom much is given, much is required. And I'm elated to give back to a community that has given so much to me. Thank you once again for allowing me to have this opportunity and for all that you do to help make Halifax Community College the best that it can be. Thank you so much.
Dr. Elliott, as you take your seat, mighty funny how you said twice, beacon of light and hope, and I had jotted that down. And I want you to know I was at your college recently for an African-American program, and you had combined it. You had several things going on that day. I was most impressed. You went through it in 50 minutes. And you know, and you didn't rush it. I really enjoyed it. I was sitting back there with Tank Williams, who was chair of the Wellness School Board, and we really enjoyed the program. And I thought about it, I said, well, you know, she's going to be coming before us at the end of February. I'm going to have to let her know that. Outstanding. You did, you know, that was a wonderful program. I really enjoyed it. You know, you recognized the African-American heroes. You did the stamp dedication. I mean, you just rolled on through it. And I had a wonderful speaker. former, Commissioner Smith, you were like this, former resident of Halifax County, graduate of Southeast High School. And he's a Durham County City Council. But anyway, outstanding. It was a great program. And I knew right then, Vice Chair Brewer.
We got it right.
There you go. See, she think ahead of me. She know exactly what I'm gonna say. And you got it right, no question about that. But thank you so much. Thank you and Dr. Wentz for being with us tonight. And we look so much forward to your leadership. And you sitting in front of our county manager, and she's the best county manager in the whole state. So I'm sure y'all get to know each other. Yeah.
We have had a good meeting.
Okay.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thank you again. Okay, end of the commissions. Y'all have any comments, any words before I move on?
I do.
Okay.
I was a little reluctant about all of these things that were happening while we were searching, since I've been involved with school superintendents, hospital presidents, and bank presidents. But this turned out to be a really, really, really challenging, but also a wonderful opportunity for this community. And Southside Virginia too, because we can pull from other areas. And I am as excited about Halifax Community College as I have been in many, many, many years, because I have been very concerned about some of the things that were and were not happening. So I believe with my heart and soul, we got it right.
You did. You did.
I think the search committee did an excellent job. I was one of the people that served on one of the focus groups. And at that time, it was a lot to be done. But I saw Dr. Williams later. He said, we got the right person. You have the right person. So I'm going to have to hear Linda brag for
It's
Well-
nice to get the right person.
Yeah, well, time you got hired, Dr. Elliott, Vice Chair Brewer told me, he says, Vern, we got it right this time.
the right person.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I just want to say welcome to Halifax, or welcome back. I'm new to the board, but I'm willing to work and very energetic about education, because that's what I've done for the last 27 years, is work in education. So I look forward to working with you, board, to make Halifax better.
I would just like to say, I'm sure that you have a very good board of trustees, you have a very good chairman of the board. I had an opportunity to serve on the board while he was chairman, and I know quite a few of the board members, and you have a very good board to work with. You said you grew up in a town without a stoplight. You grew up in Scotland?
I believe that Scotland is a little larger than Severn.
We still have a stoplight.
Okay, anyone else? All right, again, welcome. At this time, we're going to move to item B on the agenda, joint resolution to amend the airport authorities enabling legislation. We're going to hear from, I know this is the greatest assistant county manager in the whole state, because she's a hard worker. And y'all, if we turn this down tonight, she's going to be so mad.
Please don't.
She's got to appear before Northampton County, the same thing, and also Roanoke Rapids.
And Ernie
City Council.
Crappens, yeah.
But anyway, that's just a little joke, not trying to tell you what to do.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board. I have 4 items for you tonight, but I promise to be quick. Okay, the first is a joint resolution to amend the Halifax Northampton Regional Airport Authority's enabling legislation. And Glenn will be able to chime in with me on this. But the trend today is for land leases to be a bit longer than they used to be when the airport was originally founded. People make large investments in their hangars, and they need a longer lease to ensure that they're going to get their return on investment. So essentially, we're coming to you tonight to fix that issue in the enabling legislation to enable a great project to come to Halifax Northampton Regional Airport, which is going to be a commercial hangar. So what's going to happen is they will enter into a land lease with the airport authority.
and he's hoping for a 30 to 40-year lease term. But instead of just housing his personal aircraft, he will create a maintenance shop, which of course, as Kathy knows, will be a boon to both the airport and to economic development. Potential for job creation, certainly a potential to grow the airport, and it was one of the projects that, if you remember, when the Department of Commerce came and presented the airport strategic plan, it was mentioned. So to enable us to do this, we have to fix our enabling legislation. So this is just a resolution that has already been approved by the Airport Authority, and then now needs to go before the 3 governing boards that are involved with the airport. So I started with you. Tomorrow night I'll go before the Brenda Rapids City Council, and then I'll get on the schedule for Northampton County Commissioners. But you have the resolution before you. I don't think you want me to read it to you. Glenn, do you want to chime in with any additional information?
I'll just answer questions if you
Okay.
have any. It gets, you know how I can be a little too overboard on technical stuff, so if you have questions, just please let me know.
Okay, unless you have questions, she's going to need approval of the resolution to be amended, enable legislation to accommodate long-term leases, if that's what you decide to do, Commissioners.
Mr. Chair, I have one question.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. Commissioner Johnson.
Well,
Yes.
what happens if all of the entities don't sign?
Glenn?
I think, really, Ms. Johnson, what's going on here is we're making a request of the General Assembly
Yes.
to amend this local legislation, and their practice typically is they want to know that there's unanimity and consensus about that, and without that, I can't say that it wouldn't be done, but I would suspect that they'd rather know that all 3 local boards that are underlie the Airport Authority want to have this done. I'm not saying we couldn't take it to them anyway and request it, but there would probably be some question about, well, why did Northampton County not want to see this change?
That's right.
I'll add a bit more. This is to exempt leases from the Article 12 formalities that we normally have to go through. It also is to increase the term of the lease from 25 years, which was the maximum, to 40 years, which is more in line with what we're doing now. I don't think we'll have anyone who objects to that, but that's a very good question.
That is, and of course, it's at the bottom of page 1 under the documents, and it's really in the best interest of all 3 entities to do that.
Yes. So our next step, after asking for the 3 sponsoring boards to join the authority in passing this resolution, will be to share this resolution with Representative Michael Ray and Senator Bobby Hainig, and they have said they will address this and bring it forward in this session, so we can get this amended quickly.
And it'll be a local thing anyway.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman, if it's appropriate, there's no other discussion, I move that the general resolution to amend the airport authorities enabling legislation resolution be signed by
Motion.
Halifax County.
Motion made by Vice Chair Bruce, there a second? Second by Commissioner Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor by the sign of aye. All opposed, like sign. Okay.
Great,
You
thank
can
you so
step there and
much.
go ahead.
Yes.
Well, you got item C, D?
I do. These are all quick and they're all hoops to jump through, but they're all for the benefit of Halifax County. So
Okay.
my next one is our CDBG Citizen Participation Plan. And you all know our wonderful consultant, J. Michael Scott, and he drafted the CDBG Citizen Participation Plan. All it is, in summary, is ensuring, it's a hoop that we have to jump through for the grant funds, but it's making sure that citizens have the right to participate, share their thoughts about the CDBG process, and especially trying to engage those low to moderate income citizens in whose neighborhoods these funds might be applied. So I'll be happy to take any questions, but it's just a process for engaging them.
And if you think it's not a good thing, ask the lady in Lincoln Heights, I'm trying to think.
Oh,
of her
boy,
name.
Florine Bell.
There you go.
Love Miss Florine. And we want to get this off the table so we can get rolling on this project.
Yeah.
If we can get Commerce's help with that. They're a little bit slower than we'd like.
Yes, ma'am.
Just one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Usually, when, we're presented with this document, it's always highlighted any place that's different
Okay.
from before, but all of this is the same.
Yeah, as far as I know, Mike didn't note anything new except probably my contact information.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I don't think it has to be done every year.
For each project.
For each project, yeah.
There's no cost to the county.
No, sir.
Right.
Not at all. This one is for Lincoln Heights. It's going to be to rehab some homes as well as to build their community center. So they are so excited and chomping at the bit to break ground and have a ceremony.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we failed in here.
Well, yeah, that's true. Last I heard, she was on a cruise. She left me a voicemail. So,
Mr. Chairman, if there are no other questions, I move that we approve the CDBG Citizen Participation Plan for Halifax County.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Johnson, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Davis. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay.
okay. You next have a very similar document. It is another citizen participation plan, and you may ask me, why, Christina, do we have two? This one is for the Home Consortium program that I shared with you, that we're really starting to gain momentum and traction. The reason the two are different, I had a discussion with Mike about this. CDBG is operated through the North Carolina Department of Commerce. They have a few fewer hoops to jump through than HUD, which is a federal program. So the consortium has contracted with a consultant, Civitas. If you remember, we also brought that before you. Civitas, our consultant, drafted this citizen participation plan, which is going to look extremely similar, same kind of process. Again, just making sure that our citizens can engage in the process, share their feedback. And while I'm here, Dia, I think, shared with you in the weekly update, we have a public information session for the Home Consortium coming up next week. So please attend if you can. We're very excited about that, but we'll hear their thoughts about affordable housing. So that and a survey are one of our first steps in this process.
Okay. Any questions or comments of Ms. Wells in regards to the Roanoke Area Housing Consortium Citizens Participation Plan? If not, I'll need your approval.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the plan.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Smith. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Brewer. Any further discussion? Seaboard, are they the only ones still out of it?
They are. I think they could possibly still join us, but we were hoping that Northampton County would kind of work on swaying their thoughts.
Okay, all right. But all the rest of the municipalities in both
38 of
counties?
39, and that was a hard fight.
But it was a good fight.
It was a good fight.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay.
And my last item is another item related to the Home Consortium. Again, it's another hoop to jump through, presented to us by our consultant and by HUD. And this one, of course, was drafted by the best county attorney that I know of in the state or the country, so you know it's good, but it's basically a resolution just allowing certain of our county staff to be able to access the HUD system to request the drawdown of funds when we get to that point on behalf of the consortium. So we'll authorize Dia as county manager, Renee, myself, and our finance director, Mary.
Let me ask you something, Ms.
Yes, sir.
Wells. As the lead entity of
Yes, sir.
this, what are the benefits, if any?
Well, we're steering the ship. It's created work, I'll admit that, but it's good work. We are really kind of steering the ship and shaping this consortium, which is very exciting because there haven't been that many, especially in rural areas. In fact, right now I know of one over toward McDowell County in the western part of the state. So that part's exciting, but we can get 10% of the funding for administrative fees.
Okay, all right. Okay, any questions or comments, commissioners, of the delegation of authority to execute the documents related to the Roanoke Area Housing Consortium? And by those names, I'll tell you what, I like to have these 4 names representing me on anything.
And add Glenn in there, and it'd be great.
Yeah.
He always says he doesn't want anything to do with the funds. No money.
Okay, commissioners, any questions or comments?
I move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion by Vice Chair Brewer, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Davis, any further discussion? All those in favor by the sign aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign, okay.
Thank you so much.
I think you're done.
Well, thank you. It was a hard act to follow with Dr. Elliott.
Okay, modification to lease agreement with 4-H and Youth Day Camp. We'll hear from Attorney Rollins, who's been quiet.
See, what Christina doesn't tell you is I'm the only county attorney she knows, so she can,
Well, in her defense, Attorney Rollins, I know 99 others.
thank you.
That's one.
That's right.
I can't do it without the mouse, sorry. I want to go back, somehow logged out. This concerns the, first of all, I'm so glad Beth's here because I might need her. This concerns a modification of our lease with the 4-H and Youth Day Camp nonprofit organization that has been in place for a number of years now and has been very active in supporting 4-H and other youth activities in Halifax County. You may recall several years ago when we were looking at the possibility of a grant to construct the pond and in the 4-H property. The county could not do that because of the type of grant. So this nonprofit, which has been in existence for a while, stepped up and through a lease of some of that property to the nonprofit, they were able to receive the grant and construct that pond. And that lease is in place for several more years, 8 or 9 more years to go. Now, recently, we've become aware of several opportunities where it would be beneficial for this nonprofit to actually have a lease for the entire acreage on that site, some 370 acres more or less. And we thought it would be wise to recommend that we modify our current lease to include all of the property at 4-H, except for the animal shelter and the cultivated land that's up in that corner where the animal shelter is. We already have some of our cultivated land in the current lease, but we have provision for our farming tenant out there to protect his interest. This would give the nonprofit and Ag Extension working with them an opportunity to do many things, many fundraising opportunities, activities, without having from time to time come through the county commissioners or the county staff for that activity. And this is our way of supporting those youth activities, and particularly 4-H, by offering to expand this lease onto that acreage. So it's our recommendation that you consider modifying our lease from the original 50-odd acres to the 370 acres that comprise the entire area out there. I will say that the county can continue to use the property for its own activities and functions, so long as we don't have a conflicting schedule with some previously scheduled program. Beth, anything else you want to add about that?
Other than to clarify, it's not a huge change. It's basically going to reach out into the wooded area that the horse trails are currently cut through, so it's not adding any extra open land. It's just covering the bases, so if you wanted to have a 5K run through the woods, things like that. So it's not a major change. It's just going to be further reaching that Glenn is more comfortable with for liability reasons.
Okay. We just feel it's going to help accommodate more activities and it makes more sense in the future. And if it turns out that things can go south, and if it does, with a 90-day notice, we can terminate the lease. But we think it's a good opportunity now to go ahead and make this recommendation to you. So there's a resolution in the agenda packet for your adoption, and by adoption of that resolution, we can proceed with the notification that will run in the newspaper before we actually enter into this lease.
Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
Just one question,
Yes, ma'am.
and I think it was answered already. You said initially that it was 50 acres.
I'm going to check that, Ms. Johnson, because I,
It was
you know,
more than that, actually.
it's actually,
I had it.
let me, where is the lease? There we go. The original lease, I think, I'm looking at it now, under pressure. I can't really tell from here, it's by designation of FSA farm tracts, and I don't recall exactly, but my recollection was it was 54 acres. Beth, is it more than that?
It was all of those minus, it was all tracked.
See, now
I
got-
don't do math.
Now I got to do math up here with.
I don't do math, but 10,
But it-
28, 130, approximately 160 acres.
It's an area that we're familiar with working, you know, and being around in 4-H, including the pond area that's out back, if you're familiar with it now.
So the advancement will be in the wooded area.
Really goes out into the wooded area where the riding trails are and where there might be other functions and activities. As she mentioned, like you might have a 5K or something that runs out into the whole acreage out there, not just the immediate area around the improvements.
Okay. That answers it.
Okay. Anything else, Commissioners? Does that conclude your report?
Yes, sir. If I could just, if anyone has any other questions, I'll take them, but otherwise, it's a request to adopt the resolution that's presented.
Okay. All right, what is,
Chairman, I move for adoption of the resolution.
motion by Commissioner Johnson? Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Davis. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay. I think you're still there.
Yes, sir. The second item I have has to do with a proposed agreement with the United Daughters of the Confederacy, the North Carolina Division, of what I'll refer to as NCUDC. You'll recall back in 2020, we had some action by the board concerning the General Junius Daniel Memorial Boulder that was on the front lawn of the historic courthouse just out here. Back in 2020, in order to protect the memorial and for other reasons, you took action to have the memorial removed to an undisclosed location for safekeeping until we could figure out frankly, to figure out who actually owned it and what ought to happen with it. At the time we did our research back in 2020, neither the State Historical Commission nor the state UDC wanted to claim ownership to the memorial, even though it was the Halifax County, the Town of Halifax chapter of the UDC and the State Historical Commission that arranged to have it placed there. With the permission of the Board of Commissioners at that time, there was no indication in any of the records that we could locate that there was ever any intention by either the chapter of the UDC or the commission to convey ownership of the memorial to Halifax County. And it was just there. Okay. The Halifax chapter was declared defunct in 1986, so they're no longer around. In light of that, I've had some recent discussions with the president of the state UDC, and she and her executive board have reviewed the paperwork and historical record that we put together back in 2020, and have actually done a bit of change of heart and decided that yes, as the successor in interest to the local chapter, they now are the rightful owner of the memorial and want to take ownership and possession of it. By statute, we can enter into an agreement with them where we recognize their ownership and make agreement with them about the taking possession of the memorial and doing with it what they deem to be appropriate. There is, with that in mind, there is in your agenda packet a proposed agreement that would accomplish that. That agreement goes through a lot of, for folks who have to come after us and don't want to have to go what we went through, there are a lot of whereas clauses in this agreement to lay out where this came from and how we got to where we are. So I apologize for that. But the essence of it is we recognize their ownership. They agree within 60 days that we'll disclose the location to them. They're going to arrange to have the Matt Ransom chapter of the SCV come and move the memorial to a site of their choosing. I'm not sure where that's going to be. I think they have in mind where they're going to put it, but in any case, it's theirs and theirs to remove and place where they wish. Beyond that, that is more than I needed to say about the agreement. If you have questions, I'd ask you to consider, I'll answer those and then ask you to consider approving the proposed agreement between the county and the UDC.
Are there any questions or comments to Attorney Rollins in regards to the information that he presented? If not, I'll also entertain a motion for the approved execution of the proposed agreement between Halifax County and United Daughters of Confederacy, North Carolina Division regarding the General Julius Daniel Memorial. Motion by Commissioner Davis. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Attorney Rollins. Look, appreciate all that you do.
Thank you very much.
Next, we're going to hear from the hardest working county manager I know, Ms. Denton. She's going to talk about community project funding requests, North Carolina 1st Congressional District.
Yes, good evening. At your first meeting in February, we talked about this briefly, and after some discussion, some amongst you all that needed to come back with some more information and a bigger list of projects to possibly submit to Congressman Davis's office. So you have in your packets a list of 6 items or projects. I think 5 of them will probably look very familiar to you. There's one you may not be familiar with, and I can explain that one. That is the HNRAA equipment and Jet A fuel truck. So Chairman Bryant reminded me, I think it was last year, the Airport Authority Chairman, Ralph Johnson, submitted a letter, and I do believe he submitted to all 3 sponsors of the airport, requesting funding to purchase a Jet A fuel truck, which I believe, if you remember, they went over their strategic plan. That's your first meeting. They did mention that. It's very important to fuel those jets and not have the jets' engines turn off and on. It's not good for the engine. That they were requesting that. He was hoping that it could be included in your ARPA expenses, but that would be hard to sort of work through when the county is a 50% owner of the airport, so you would have some obligation of the other 2 sponsors as well. So we thought, talking amongst ourselves and with Chairman Bryant, that maybe we should just include it on this list. And that would benefit both counties and the city of Roanoke Rapids to have this piece of equipment and some smaller things for the airport authority. Yeah. So that's at a total of $400,000. The other item that was not on there previously was for the detention center, the jail, expansion and renovation. As you know, our jail's capacity is 85 inmates. We regularly house inmates in other jails and other counties, which costs money to both house them and transport them back and forth for court. And at the same time, the current jail, being 40 years old, is in need of some renovations at this point. I'll add another piece to it. We do house a lot of inmates with mental illness. We do have that data to back it up. Mm-hmm. And with the hospital eventually closing its mental health unit, I can only assume that that may trickle to us in some cases with some individuals that may have nowhere else to go. They may end up in our jail for a period of time. So you could always maybe think, and we've talked about this with our Stepping Up program, is maybe building a section for inmates that need mental health treatment, and doing that through our jail health program. I had to ballpark that figure at $20 million. If you remember, we bid it about 9 years ago. Does that sound right, Mr. Rowland? Okay, so 9 years. And I think it came in at about $14 million. Mm-hmm. That was for a larger project, so I had to ballpark it here, and we can kind of see how that goes. If you all want to go ahead with all 6 of these, we were kind of the opinion that the way we understand that it works, it'll be farmed out into different agencies and programs and pots of funding, and so that there may not be any harm in just submitting all of them. And so if you all would like to do that, we'll get in contact with Kim Mack and see what the best way is to submit these and the proper channels to go through. So with all that said, were there other questions for me, or did you have other discussions about any other particular items? And we're thinking more capital items would be most appropriate, except for the semi-quincentennial, but seeing how that can be a nationwide thing, we think that might be a good candidate for funding as well.
When do you have to have this information in?
Ms. Mack asked for it to be in by March 1,
Okay.
and I believe that's next week? Okay.
This is all that we will submit, it's just our list here, or I'm sure there's like other paperwork.
Oh, no, there's paperwork that staff would do. This is just a nice, clean one-pager for you all. We had to do letters of support for these projects before. We had to gather a whole, almost portfolio for the projects, which we can pull together depending on how sophisticated these projects are. Some are going to be more in-depth than others.
And, our first meeting this month, you talked about we had submitted some, I guess last year or a couple years ago, and it didn't get funded, so were we able to find out why that happened?
No, and part of that was Congressman Butterfield's staff was in a transition as well, and we weren't able to talk to the same person. I think there was a little confusion on there, and we were under a really tight time frame. So we did not, but we'll have more in-depth. We've got a little time now, I think, to have more in-depth discussions with his office and his representatives. Hopefully we'll be successful in one or more of these projects.
So, question. What would be the capacity for the jail or detention center?
I think it depends on how large you want to build it. I cannot remember what our capacity was going to be. I want to say it was well over, was it 125, 135? Does that sound right?
That sounds about right. I'm looking back too, we actually went out to bid a second time. I'm here
Okay.
in
Searching minutes.
2019. And at that time, we had one bidder
Okay.
at 12.8 million on the project at that time.
Okay, so I would feel pretty comfortable, but I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of
I was just saying.
115 to 135.
So I know, at least for the last 10 years, that the jail has been overcrowded. And normally it's 104 to 110 on the average.
Right.
Just thinking back.
Right.
And we have programs that we have people on electronic monitoring. We're doing all sorts of things to not put them in jail. And then if you look at our bonds compared to other counties, we have more unsecured bonds, we have low bonds. And I think that jail not being renovated is a public safety issue, number one. And just go around and surround the counties and look at how they are able to house them, how they're able to have bonds to make sure that the people are basically detained for that particular purpose. And capacity-wise, I think that we need to look at more than 125.
And I think if that comes down to it, to where it's approved and we're able to do that, I think we can make that modification like you're talking about, and I concur with you on that.
Yes, ma'am.
We talked about this countless of times, for renovation of the jail.
Mhm.
And we've had an architect to give us a plan. And I'm going to be very positive when we get this money. When we get it, the architectural plans that we have, would we be able to modify that as opposed to bringing a new architect in to?
I think so. I will defer to the greatest attorney, but I would think so.
And what we did in late 2019, we, at that time, basically just suspended. We were working through the financing with with David Cheatwood, and we had bids going out on the street. At that time, we just suspended what we were doing.
Right.
And we could actually, pick back up with Dan Mace and with the folks at Mosley. Someone's got the plans. There she is.
They went from one office to another.
Our experience, as you know, our experience with Mosley has been very positive.
Very
And I feel like it could be, fairly easily get back into what we were doing. And of course, we've got a great financial advisor with Mr. Cheatwood as well, who could, if we had to do any kind of financing with whatever other assistance we might be getting. So, short answer, yes, sorry.
And those documents, you could basically brush them off at this point. We were talking about that either today or last week about, we went to bid, so even the bidding documents are there. And, they're the ones doing the renovation for the third floor.
Right.
And that's moving along very well. They'll actually be on site next week as well. They've done surveys with all the tenants and the departments in the building.
We can look into it.
Yes, ma'am. And they'll be on site next week. They're very familiar with the facility already. So that'll help as well.
Yeah, those of us who've been around a long time, such as Commissioner Webb and Attorney Rollins and Vernon Bryant, I tell you something, that third house, that third floor at the courthouse has been around a long time.
It will be a game changer.
Okay, all right. Anything else of the county manager? If not, I'll need, she needs for your approval for the direction on the project submitted to Don Davis' office. I guess a motion for your approval for submission.
I move that we approve the community project funding request as solicited to Congressman Don Davis.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Webb. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Davis. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay.
Okay, thank you. We'll get in contact with Ms. Mack and check out the next steps just on our end. We'll keep you posted.
Right.
All right.
And thank you, and to you as well as the management team for coming up with these projects.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, moving right along to other business. I think we took care of the other business as far as the resolution honoring that beautiful lady. This time, any other business, I do have a few items. Commissioner Webb, did you have something? Okay, you just looking at me. Okay. Well, he said, don't move, you get called on. All right. I have a few things that I want to talk with you all about. The first one is, as far as Commissioner Manning, former Commissioner Manning. I talked with his friend, Ms. Helen Bush, and of course, that's where he is. He's at 179 Stockpile Road in Roanoke Rapids. And 11 o'clock tomorrow is a good time to go over there. And I know that many of us may not be able to go at 11, but those who can go, try to go, with us at that time. We're going to have the proclamation, to present to him. And I checked with her yesterday, and I'm going to call her tonight when we leave, just to make sure to remind her that we'll be there at 11 o'clock like she, like you told me.
What was that address again?
It's 179 Stack, S-T-A-C-K, Stack Powell Road, Roanoke Rapids. And sometime, Ms. Johnson, it may not work on your Google very well, because I know the first time I went there, I kind of lost when I Google it, and this was about a year or two ago. But having the problem, just give me a call on my cell. But 179 Stack Powell Road, Roanoke Rapids. And it's, if you go up to Bobby's Supermarket, and if you hook a left and go down 48, and then you turn right on Sam Powell Road, and just follow that down to Stack Power Road, which will be on the right, and you turn off on that road, and the house will be on the left, has a white fence around it, big house, brick house. So it's not that difficult to get to, really. But still, call me if you need to. Okay, again, that's 179 Stack Power Road, Roanoke Rapids. We're going to meet there at 11 o'clock tomorrow. And if you want to go by there at another time, check with me, and I can give you a phone number for Helen Bush where you can call her, you know, you can go by there. Okay, and I think, okay, well, anyway, the next thing on the agenda is that I have Mrs. Denton, our county manager, her evaluation. Anyway, what I would like for you to do is this, commissioners. Ms. Denton is going to be giving us her accomplishments and an instrument for us to complete on her evaluation at our March 6th meeting, okay? And Ms. Denton, I made a little change here, and you'll find out what it is in a second. And I'm going to ask you to review her accomplishments, and these are the things that she saw as accomplishments, and the evaluation, the actual instrument, you need to complete that yourself. And then bring that back to me on April the 3rd, okay?
Will it be online?
She's just going to give it to you in paper, her accomplishments as well as the instrument. And,
I can actually email all of it, if that would be easier.
right. Okay, all right, okay. But I'd like for you to bring it back to me April the 3rd, or you can email it to me on April the 3rd once you complete it. And the reason I said April the 3rd, y'all, is, you know, we're trying to prevent us from having to come, you know, call a special meeting to go over her evaluation. I'm going to compile it and go over it with her, and then I'm going to make sure each one of you get a copy of the evaluation, okay? You get a copy of it. But that'll be sometime probably in April is when I'll do that. And, you know, by doing this, we won't have to do a special meeting. And I want you to know, too, I'm going to have surgery on March the 8th. And I'm going to be out of circulation for three to 5 weeks. I'm having double hernia operation. So it's going to be done local, but I want all of you all to know that. And if you need any paper signs, anything done, you're going to have to come to the house or get Ms. Brewer to do it. Okay? Because I'll be in the bed. I hope Sandra give me plenty of TLC for at least 2 or 3 weeks. But anyway, that's on a personal note, but you know, you all need to know that. Any questions about Mr. Manning or Mrs. Denton's evaluation? Ms. Denton, did I cover everything with that?
Yes, sir.
And you're going to email it to each one of us, right?
I'll do hard copies and I'll email it.
Okay, all right, okay. All right. The last thing, I think each one of you, did you receive a letter from McGuire Woods Consulting?
That's why I pulled it up.
Okay, okay, all right. Do y'all have any thoughts about that?
I think we should have some serious discussion about it.
Okay, all right. Do you want to do it tonight, or do you want to do it at some subsequent meeting? Do you all know what we're talking about? There was a letter that was sent from McGuire Woods Consulting out of Washington DC, and G.K. Butterfield, who used to be a congressman, works for that firm now as a consultant. And did everyone receive a copy of that? Okay. Did you receive one? Okay, all right. We all know what it says. And Commissioner Webb, you want to start the discussion?
Well, the way I see it, when reviewing that letter, he's basically saying that, look, there's a lot of money out there, billions of dollars out there, and there are deadlines when we should submit to request some funds. And I know that we got the jail hopefully in mind and other projects. And my thing is, if the money is there, we need to at least try to request some funds. So it covers a variety of projects. I know it's lobbying. But I think we should at least have a meeting with him, at least have a meeting with him so we can see what our concerns are.
I guess my question would be, does county government generally employ lobbyists? That's, when I got the letter, that was my first question.
Well, I would say yes, because it says here, my friends, local government, federal practice. And I'm pretty sure that if we meet with him, I think we can get those questions answered there. Not cost us anything for me.
No, no, no.
Right.
I mean, that's still, at least take the time to meet with him.
Right. Okay. Okay, any other thoughts?
I think we have two attorneys in here, so. We in good shape.
Well, I'm not familiar at all with the letter.
You have received,
Oh, no, sir, I don't know what you're talking about.
I know this is quick, Attorney Rollins, but it's not but 2 pages, well, about a page and a half, let you read it.
Can we delay that until our next meeting?
Our next meeting is what, March?
What is it?
March 6th.
It's almost here.
It is almost here.
I think we need to talk about the letter from Josh Stein also, as it pertains to with opioids.
Okay. Oh, you talking about talk about that on March 6th also?
Yeah.
Okay. And Ms. Denton, you're gonna have you do have some recommendations about that too, right?
We do. We'll have to do some additional agreements. We talked about it, management team this morning, with this new round of funding, you'll have to do a new MOA with the state.
Right.
So those things are forthcoming.
Okay. Okay. You know, we could have GK to come to our meeting on March the 6th and give and I know he can talk, so I'll let him know, or Ms. Denton let him know, that he will have to do a brief presentation. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Ms. Denton and Commissioners, I'm really asking you all too, are you all okay with that, to have him to come to the meeting on March the 6th? I mean, I just
They can
can't.
work us into the law.
That's a good decision if we all think.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to see what services he offers, and it will come with a price tag.
Yeah.
And probably a Washington DC price tag.
Right. And also too, and I'm Congressman Butterfield's ex-Congressman Butterfield's a very honorable guy, and I know that. But I think it may be best to Ms. Denton or your staff or your deputy county manager or someone to call, and I'm just saying this because we gotta look out for Halifax County and us, to call the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners and see if this is allowed, like Vice Chair Brewer was talking about earlier. I think that'd be a good idea. Don't you all think so? Okay.
If it is allowed, we do like a bid for services like that.
Now, Commissioner Davis, now you going down the road there, and you may be exactly right. I mean, this thing could open up. I don't know. You're right. Yeah, it's a good possibility. I don't know. But that's another question they could ask. If it is allowed, will we have to open it up and bid it out?
It doesn't seem to me, just from what I've read here, that it's about any kind of lobbying effort. It's an offer to provide consulting services about obtaining or taking advantage of grant opportunities and funding opportunities. So I don't see it as a lobbying proposal at all. And to answer your question about bidding, no, it doesn't require bidding unless internally you want to do bidding for services. Services aren't something you have to go out, bids for. Construction, yes, and purchase of, expensive goods and that kind of thing.
Well, Attorney Rollins, going back to what I had asked the county manager, the deputy county manager, to look at with the association, do you think they need to do that or not?
I don't know what to tell you right now. I just saw this right now, and I want to think about it. I want to discuss it. It doesn't hurt ever to call the association and say, we've gotten this proposal from whomever who's reached out to us for consulting services. We contract for consulting services all the time.
Right.
I just mentioned our financial advisor. That's the same kind of thing. Someone who will guide us through a complicated process. And I think it probably warrants having a discussion, if you want to have that discussion with Congressman Butterfield about what he's doing now with McGuire Woods. There's no
Okay.
harm in doing that.
So why don't we do this, y'all? Why don't we let Ms. Denton and her staff contact the association, find out their opinion about it, and then the other thing, Ms. Denton have Congressman Butterfield here at our meeting, or clerk, on the 6th, and let him know that he needs to be about 15 minutes at the max.
Did someone say good luck with that?
And she's probably right. I'm gonna have to say, look, GK, look, you gotta just. Okay, all right. Let's see. I think that was all I had. Any other commissioners? Thank you, Commissioner Webb, for bringing that up too. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Now, do we have to go into closed session?
I don't have anything for closed session that needs to be dealt with tonight.
Okay. Ms. Scott?
No.
You've been quiet. Ms. Denton?
Yes, sir.
Okay, commissioners? All right, if not, we're gonna look at a trick here in a second. I know that's staff's favorite word for me, trick. Time to go home then. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn? Motion by Vice Chair Brewer, second by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? We are officially